In the midst of a world torn apart by the Second World War, Allied heroes emerged from every corner of the globe. Today, we shine the light of enlightenment on a remarkable chapter in these heroes' stories. The chapter of Native Americans in World War II. Join us as we embark on these brave humans' tales of hard-fought battles, their influence on the war, and their importance to world history. This is Native Americans of World War II, Heroes of the Motherland.
The current state of affairs when it came to tribal relations in the United States government at this time were, for a lack of better words, extremely poor. There was a lack of education, amenities like running water, cultural conflicts, and other issues that led to sour relations with the United States government and Native American tribes. And that's important to note because it really leads us to our first image of the Native American tribes' dynamic and role in a global conflict like this. That image also comes in the name of a man named John Collier, an American sociologist and champion of social reform and social rights for Native Americans. During President Franklin D. Roosevelt's administration, he held the position of Commissioner for the Bureau of Indian Affairs. In 1939, however, a scandal had erupted that would expose a shadowy nexus of politics, propaganda, and Native American affairs, which is of course how Mr. Collier gets pulled into this mess. Secretary of the Interior Harold Ikes delivered a stark message to Commissioner Mr. John Collier, and that message read, "A trusted colleague had been collaborating with the Nazi regime." Unbeknownst to Collier, he had been entangled with a German agent working for Hitler's regime. The revelation was a profound embarrassment and cast a spotlight on the bizarre and troubling relationships in the world of the time. At the heart of this scandal was the American Indian Federation, or AIF for short, a pan-Indian organization pushing for the abolition of the Indian Bureau. In their quest for support, the AIF turned to pro-fascist and anti-Semitic groups for funding and backing, aka the Third Reich. Now, these groups came in the name of things like the German American Bund, the Militant Christian Patriots, and the Silver Shirts. They all had their own hidden agendas aimed at undermining the Roosevelt administration, and they saw the AIF as a useful tool in that campaign. The involvement of the AIF with these extremist groups shows how political desperation could lead to unlikely and dangerous alliances. It's a stark reminder of the multifaceted challenges faced by Native American leaders during this tumultuous period. The alliance between Nazi sympathizers and critics of the Indian Bureau reached a turning point when several participants faced exposure, prosecution, or deportation. Despite these setbacks, the AIF and its German allies still began to meddle in American Indian affairs. Eventually, these foreign pressures contributed to Mr. Collier's participation in a massive effort to recruit Native Americans for selective service registration under the administration of Franklin D. Roosevelt. This in turn leads us to nearly 50,000 total Native Americans that participated in the war. 15% of the entire U.S. Native population participated in the war. While some were drafted, many volunteered for a variety of different reasons. In 1941, Joseph Goebbels, the German Minister of Propaganda in the Third Reich, expressed high hopes that American Indians, having been declared as Aryans by the Nazis, would choose to rise against the United States rather than fight for a Germany that promised to return their seized lands. Despite this optimism, the Germans remained in denial about the failure of their 1930s propaganda campaigns and underestimated the Native American reaction to the war declaration. However, it is true that many Native Americans viewed the registration process as just another instance of pointless bureaucratic control by the United States government. In response to the attack on Pearl Harbor, Native Americans enlisted in unprecedented numbers and maintained their involvement throughout the war, driven by a clear sense of duty to defend their homeland. Henry E. Nullitubby, a Native American from Oklahoma, was the very first Native American to die in World War II when he was killed on the USS Arizona during the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. Henry was a part of the Marine detachment on the ship. Before Congress enacted the Selective Service Act, the Selective Service Department began gathering information on how to register Native Americans on reservations. This move indicated the government's belief that Native Americans would be the most challenging group to classify, register, and assign for military service. Military officials often seemed baffled by issues related to Native American citizenship and frequently encountered situations where Native Americans resisted complying with the white authority without significant justification. Additionally, cultural differences led to unconventional policy choices. Following the introduction of the draft, confusion arose among military officials, reservation superintendents, and Native Americans regarding citizenship status. When some tribes asserted that they were not U.S. citizens, confused board members sought guidance from lawyers, each other, and the Indian Bureau. Mr. Collier firmly stated that all Native Americans born within the United States were indeed that, citizens. To address the issue definitively, Congress enacted the Nationality Act on October 14, 1940, which conferred citizenship on all Native Americans while preserving tribal property rights. However, rather than resolving the matter, the act prompted significant concerns about tribal sovereignty and the government's authority over drafting Native Americans. Despite these challenges, Native Americans ultimately responded to the draft with a significant enlistment rate, demonstrating their commitment to defending their country. When asked by whites about their reasons for enlisting, most Native Americans cited patriotism as their main motivation. Despite previous experiences of rejection and discrimination, American Native Americans chose to join the broader effort to defend their country. Additionally, many expressed a strong aversion to the Nazi ideology of racial superiority, viewing it as a direct threat to their own minority status. Native American men and women were eager to support the war effort, but chose to do so on their own terms. During World War I, the military recognized the special advantage of Native American languages. When a frontline artillery unit struggled with message transmission due to the enemy's successful decryption of all the communications, an officer decided to test the effectiveness of two Native Americans from the same tribe by using them as telephone operators, speaking in their tribal language. They effectively confounded the enemy, who was unable to decipher the incomprehensible and enigmatic sounds transmitted over the wires. The same thing that they had been persecuted to change was the same thing that ultimately led the fate of the United States to victory. Building on the success of World War I, the military planned to leverage Native American languages again during World War II. In January of 1941, the 4th Signal Company enlisted 30 Cherokee Native Americans from Oklahoma to form a specialized Signal Corps detachment. Similarly, the 32nd Division of the 3rd Army in western Louisiana employed 17 Native Americans from Michigan and Wisconsin to handle microphones and transmit messages. In an unexpected turn, the Navajo Code Talkers gained the most fame and recognition among radio units. This initiative was a collaborative effort involving Navajo recruits and Philip Johnston, the son of white missionaries who had grown up on the reservation. A World War I veteran, Johnston, proposed the idea to the Marines in 1942 of recruiting Navajo Native Americans as radio operators using a unique code based on their language. Given that the Navajo language lacked modern military terminology, the recruits created their own code words such as turtle for tank and insect for airplane, which proved unbreakable by the Japanese. After several months of training, the Marine Corps assigned Navajo recruits, eventually numbering over 400 to various units and pairs. Johnston proudly noted their critical roles, stating, "From Guadalcanal to the last bitter bloody days on Okinawa, the Navajo played a crucial role in the war." Another all-Native American unit, Company F on the 158th Infantry Regiment, 40th Division within the Arizona National Guard, was composed entirely of individuals from Phoenix Indian School. In September of 1940, when the Arizona National Guard was reactivated for federal service, 61 students from the Phoenix Indian School were enlisted. On December 8th of 1941, the military deployed these recruits from the Indian School and Company F reserves to Panama as part of the 158th Regimental Combat Team. This elite unit, skilled in hand-to-hand combat, knife fighting, and the use of assault weapons, would later gain fame in the Pacific Theater and become known as the Bushmasters.
In a notable engagement at WWII Island, the Bushmasters, which included both white soldiers and Native Americans from 20 different tribes, successfully rescued the Texas cavalry. In addition to their use of rituals and languages, Native Americans demonstrated their tribal sovereignty by independently declaring war on the nation's enemies. In July of 1942, while contesting in court the government's authority to draft their young men, the Six Nations formally declared war on Italy, Japan, and Germany. Other tribes, such as the Osage of Oklahoma, the Sioux of South Dakota, and the Ponca of Oklahoma, also made their own declarations of war against the Axis powers. These declarations illustrated that Native American tribes approached the war from their own unique perspectives, both on the battlefield and in the legal disputes. Influenced by their service members, Native Americans continued to assert their tribal sovereignty in various ways after the war. This assertion, combined with their substantial war participation, captured national attention. Americans became intrigued by the blend of patriotism and sovereignty displayed by the Native Americans. Recognizing the propaganda potential, the War Department and the Department of Interior launched extensive publicity campaigns across journals, newspapers, radio, and film to highlight the contributions of Native Americans. Ultimately, America realized that the Native American contribution had become one of its most valuable assets. Join us here on Doogie's Earthworks for the next episode of Native Americans of World War II, Heroes of the Motherland. We will discuss some of these greatest military units in detail and tell personal accounts and stories from these brave men and women involved in World War II. You can also find other things related to Native Americans here at Doogie's Earthworks, as that is all I cover. Whether it be educational documentaries such as this, Stone Age artifact hunting in my local creeks, or exploring Native American lore, or even reservation and ancient earthwork site visits, you will certainly find it here on my YouTube channel, Doogie's Earthworks. Thank you for watching.